everybody. This is Lou Cortez with Fulcro Insurance, and welcome to Fulcro Connect One-on-One. Here with my good friend Clay, owner of PIRTEK. Clay, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Lou. It's great to be here.
I am glad to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your business does and who PIRTEK is?
Sure. So PIRTEK is the market leader in hydraulic and industrial hose service. As you know, we repair and replace hoses here in the North Atlanta market. I personally own 3 franchise locations covering really Northeast, Central, and Northwest Atlanta.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
Obviously, we want to talk a little bit about our relationship today and also how that works with your business.
Okay.
So we met, you were becoming a brand new franchise owner.
That's right.
And tell me about that experience when we connected. How did that go?
Sure. So I was approached maybe mid-2020, maybe end of Q2, beginning of Q3, with an opportunity to buy out the existing owners here in Atlanta, who you were already doing business with, Mike and Janice McCarthy. And they had been owners here since 2002, were getting ready to retire and enjoy the fruits of all their labor, right? And of course, as a new owner and someone who's going into, in this case, a leveraged acquisition, lots of questions around cost and cash flow. And one of those elements, of course, is insurance. And so, you know, we got connected because you already had the account, but not personally, not a lot of experience with insurance and all the different ins and outs and things we had to think about to successfully transition from old ownership to new ownership. So
touching on that point, you have Mike, who was the previous owner and was outgoing, who had experience with us, but you also have PIRTEK, which does a great job with new franchise owners and preparing them to be business leaders.
Right.
Tell me about what did you feel? What did you look at as you started to kind of go through all that information and search for a new broker?
Sure. So we are in a business where relationships are very important, right? Especially in the construction equipment world, which is our bread and butter and what we primarily service. You know, at the end of the day, it comes down to who you know and how well you know them and who you can trust, right? And so for me, in order for me to develop a relationship with our customers, I really had to make sure that I had good relationships with my vendors and my support. So obviously, with someone that is a large percentage of our cost, I wanted to make sure we selected the right partner that we could help develop a relationship with, right?
And if I recall correctly, we met during the pandemic.
We did. We met virtually, right?
Virtually.
So I don't think we met in person for a little while, right?
Yeah, that became the new norm for a while.
That's right.
So tell me about how we as Fulcro presented ourselves to you when we started talking about your insurance program.
Yeah, I think it was very consultative, and that's what I appreciate. You know, I grew up as a salesperson myself, much like you, and my style was always, you know, just learn what the customer's needs are, and then try to find the best fit. And so I felt like your style and your approach and your team really pitched that very well. And you know, I felt like it kind of matched my values and my approach. So I thought, okay, this could really work out. So.
Can you compare and contrast? Because if I recall, you had at least one other broker working on your program.
I did.
What was that experience like versus Fulcro's?
Well, I think you had 2 advantages. One, obviously, we just talked about your style. But 2, they didn't really understand the business like Fulcro has. And so I think a lot of the questions, a lot of the kind of the inertia you go through when trying to find a new broker in this case, sometimes it's just painful, right? And I felt like, you know, I had to weigh, you know, do I go through that heartache and that headache, or do I work with who's easy to do business with? And you know, sometimes it's not always about price. You know, we were just talking about price a little bit ago, but it really comes down to who's easy and efficient to work with. Right. And I felt like that was the differentiator when it came down to those 2 options.
Well, Fulcro was definitely grateful that we were able to become partners with you.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about any instances that might have stood out to you in regards to your experience with us in service.
So I think, there's anytime you have a vehicle accident or anything like that, you need quick response. So I would say certainly working with Christian and your team, he's been very efficient. When it comes to a customer requesting a certificate of insurance, we can't get on that job site until we have that presented. And Christian and your team have been really good at getting that information quickly. But I would say, certainly when we went through the renewal process, that was probably, out of our short experience so far, been the most challenging. And when we discovered that one provider, that the cost was going to go way up, I really appreciated the fact that you worked hard to retain the business and get us almost, in my opinion, almost better coverage for about the same amount of money. And, that I really appreciated. So,
absolutely. I know that was an experience that was very trying for both of us, because
Yes.
we went down to the wire, and I'm glad we found a solution.
Right.
So long term, you're in your second year, third year?
Second year.
Second
Yeah.
year going on. What does it look like 5 years from now in a partnership with an agency like ours? How do you envision that looking and working?
Well, obviously our intent is to grow, right? I still feel like I've got a lot of years in the tank left. So the objective is to grow, but grow intelligently. And so working with partners to help me, in this case, manage the cost to mitigate risk at a level that allows us to not overspend and achieve the growth that we want, right? As the owner of the business, it's my responsibility to make sure that we spend where we need to spend, and we protect the assets that we need to protect, including our employees, right? And so making sure that the insurance programs we have in place are well positioned so that there's not disruption to the business, and that our goal is to grow the business and help also ultimately grow our employees along the way. And if we're not positioned well, and we have an event, it could be very painful along the road. So so that's the end game. But working with your agency is I guess the path there is spending time with you, or you spending time with me, to understand what we're trying to do, and helping me make sure that we've got our programs and policies all positioned appropriately. Right.
So here at Fulcro, we have a saying that Fulcro is family. How has Fulcro been able to make you feel part of the family?
I mean, it's just like this, right? I feel like we're old buddies, and I think that goes back to building a relationship, right? So, it's not stressful, it's not tense, it's just getting to know not just the business, but the people behind the business, right? And so I think the fact that we participate in a lot of the same things. You've invited us to the Atlanta United game, which was great. You got to meet my son, and this morning you're asking about how he's doing by name. I mean, all that stuff matters, right? And we're aligned with the Georgia Hispanic Construction Association, and we participate in those activities. And
absolutely.
So I think just those little things, are maybe make it not even just a family, but almost a shared community, right? And so I don't know. I think that's really cool. But.
No, I definitely can appreciate meeting Campbell. He's probably the smartest person that I know at his age.
So. Oh, well, don't tell him that right now. He's a teenager.
They know everything.
They do. Yes.
They know everything.
Yeah,
I realize that. And I have a 7-year-old that's going on 21. So
yeah, right.
So tell me a little bit about any advice you can give other business owners as they go through this similar type of journey that you've been on.
Sure.
And what they should look for in a provider.
I mean, just find a provider that is aligned with your values and the style in which you do business. I think it's not, like I said earlier, it's not always about the cost, right? Sometimes, the cost is important. Obviously, you want to try to minimize what you're spending, but at the end of the day, you want to develop a relationship with somebody that's going to have your best interests in mind. And so, you may think of something that is important for our business that we hadn't thought of, and it might add to the overall cost, but it may save us a lot of more costs down the road, right? So I think just find someone that you work really, really well together with, somebody that's interested in your business, knows the right questions to ask, and is more, like I said, consultative as opposed to just focused on the bottom line. So
I think one thing that to touch on that point in regards to how well I think the relationship has worked, we've recently received a letter from a carrier of yours discussing how something should possibly be insured, and you immediately fired off a note to me. We were able to discuss it together. I know that we're setting some time to make sure that you're properly covered.
Right.
Because you have a unique setup, correct, in your vans? You also have, it's almost like a mobile shop.
it is.
And
That's right.
so we can't insure it just like a van. It
Right.
has to be insured like a mobile shop.
Right.
So I appreciate the fact that you're very open to how you and I can kind of go back and forth and say, hey, I see this potential gap in coverage. Let's address it and make the best decision for both of us.
Right. I mean, our business is focused on speed and accuracy, right? And if I have a situation where my van is disabled, let's say, either through an accident or in this example you shared, it is totaled out, our customers don't care, right? They need to be back up and running, right? So I have to have everything in place to make sure that if that happens, we're back up and running very, very quickly. And you're right, we're a very unique situation in the sense that it's not just driving a van around and delivering goods. We're manufacturing things on site, and we have tools on that van, we have product on that van, and that is, in a sense, that's the technician's livelihood, right? Yeah. And so if that thing goes down, not only is that downtime for our customers, it's lost income for our employee, right? Because they get paid on how well they perform. And of course, we're still paying the note on that van, right? So the sooner and faster we can get that resolved, or the better coverage that we have set up, the faster I think we can get back on the road. And so that's why it's good to know that I've got somebody that, again, you respond very quickly. So as soon as I set that, yesterday, you were on it, and we're already trying to talk about how we can make sure we're positioned appropriately, right?
So Clay, tell me a little bit about your growth. You mentioned that your business has been growing since you've taken over in the last 2 years.
Sure.
How have you done that? How has it grown?
It's not been easy. So, I bought the business at the end of 2020, December 2020. And I think there was a lot of feeling each other out between the existing staff and myself. And so my full intent the first year was to not change really anything, just observe, just watch, try to make some improvements that weren't upsetting the apple cart, right? But, really didn't make any big moves until about May of last year. We decided to implement a commission structure for our technicians to kind of solve two problems. One, technicians, I noticed, when it got to about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they didn't like getting that last call to go out and work on a machine. So maybe incenting them to say, hey, I'll take that extra job not every day, but a couple times a week, just to make sure their customers taken care of, but they should be compensated for that. And two, it's a very competitive market right now with employees. And so just trying to come up with a way to maybe provide a little bit of extra something for the guys to be motivated to stay, right? So once we implemented that, things really started to take off. I'm not saying it's a direct correlation, but it certainly helped. So we were really flat year over year, 21 to 20 through the first half of the year. And when we finished the year up 14%. So if you multiply that by 2, we grew about 28, 29% last year in the second half. So a huge, jump, right? And so that's a lot of growth for a very small organization. So trying to figure out how to just handle the business, not stress people out, but also, try to take care of your customers at the same time, which was very challenging for us. And I thought we might slow down. And then we got into the first quarter of this year, and we really pivoted to doing more preventive maintenance work, more project-based work. And all of a sudden we grew 40% over the first quarter of last year. And so it's just been an upward trajectory in the sense that I think the employees have come to find that this is a great place to work. We're going to take very good care of our employees. We're interested in their development, right? If there are employees that have certain personal goals or aspirational goals, we're trying to get them to that point during their career, right? So just shifting, I think, from the older ownership mentality of, hey, this is a small mom and pop, this is a family, we're going to try to keep it as such, to maybe more of, hey, this is the vision, in 5 to 10 years, and we're going to get from here to there. And part of that process is taking care of our employees, who ultimately will take care of our customers, right?
So 40%, that's a pretty big jump.
It is, yeah.
And was that due to organic business just being there, or were people referring business to you?
Yeah, so I think twofold. We have a salesperson on staff, Luis Trujillo, and I think providing him some guardrails and some direction on where we need to go was really paramount in driving that activity. And that really started last year, right? And as you know, in the sales process, you've got to really start prospecting and start dropping those seeds maybe 12, 18 months in advance before you really start seeing projects, start to bloom, right? So that's one. And then much like your business, I'm sure, it's referral based, right? So
absolutely,
we see a lot of unique situations where we're on a job site for, in some cases, large rental companies, and we work on that machine, but the person that's renting that machine is also a direct customer of ours, and they'll refer us to, say, someone else they know. So last summer, we were out on a job site for a large rental company. They rent equipment for the filming and entertainment business, right? And we went out there and we worked on a machine, and 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, got them up and running. The guy was so impressed, that was running the machine was so impressed that he referred us to one of his buddies, and the next day we got a phone call to go out and work on another set elsewhere in Atlanta, to work on another machine, because that guy was having the same issue. And so just, managing the professionalism from order to cash, doing the job quickly, efficiently, accurately. We have kind of a saying that, you're only as good as your last transaction, right? Yeah. So if we leave a bad taste in someone's mouth, chances are very good that not only are we not going to get that business going forward, they're going to tell everybody else. And so we really focus on making sure that when we deliver, we leave such a good impression that they're willing to tell their friends to also do business with us. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because referrals are huge for Fulcro as well. Mm-hmm. And we take the same mindset, in the sense that we want to provide the best service, so that when you have an interaction with us, you're blown away to the point where you want to start referring other people. And, we do a lot in the construction world. We do a lot in the retail, a lot in the restaurant. And everybody in those circles are connected by some degree. And so we want to be able to strive to gain those customers and create those referrals, because the only way we're going to get them is if we ask for them, but the only way we can ask for them is if we earn it.
Sure.
So from Fulcro's perspective, that's been huge. And I'm glad to see that you're also at that same mindset. So we're also aligned in that regard.
Yeah, I think that in the long run, I think you and I have talked before, but I had an opportunity as an expat in Korea for a few years. Mm-hmm. And one of the very interesting experiences and comparisons to, say, an Asian market and now back here in the United States is customer service. And when you go over there, whether it's staying at a hotel, taking a cab, just ordering food, the customer service level is almost like what it used to be here, right? Yeah. But it's just so much better, right? So much more efficient, so much more caring. And after coming back and seeing that gap, there's a lot of opportunities for businesses that if they just adopt that mindset and just take that extra step and really genuinely care about the customer when they come in the door or when they make the phone call, they're going to grow their business exponentially, right? And so I think it's good. And again, this is why we do business with you, is because we were aligned in that mentality. So
no, I would wholeheartedly agree, and I think that is one of the things that make you unique, that makes Fulcro unique, in the sense that we're doing things how we think they should be done, and not how other people perceive them to be done. So that's one of the incredible parts of this partnership.
Yeah,
so.
that's right.
And I think one of the beautiful things that, from an insurance standpoint, correct, is the ability to have open dialogue, making coverage decisions based on all the information. I think you've been very open about letting us come tour your facility,
Right.
where we've brought company representatives in to review it, to make sure that everybody's comfortable to understand exactly what it is that you do. That's huge for us in making a decision on how to put a program together for you. So Clay, I want to thank you for your time. We appreciate you as a client, and really thank you for putting trust into Fulcro Insurance.
And thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to Fulcro Connect One-on-One. This is Luis Cortez with Fulcro Insurance. Tune in next time.